When adopting materials to use in the class, now we have to start thinking about accessibility. And these are materials that other publishers have produced, whether they're free or whether students have to pay for them. So especially when they're offered digitally, like so, we want to check for accessibility. And quite honestly, not a ton are fully accessible out there, and schools are having to work with publishers to get them accessible. So this is an ongoing discussion, and as faculty, we don't want to have to rewrite the books, so we should be working hand in hand with publishers. So once we have the resources and start doing that, great. Otherwise, picking an accessible text is a good idea. Now, in one of the science classes I'm looking at, they picked this text. It had a link to this particular section. And when I went through it with the screen reader, with JAWS, it read everything. It had headings. I wasn't seeing anything glaring. I'm not an absolute expert, but everything was actually, I think, flowing really well. I was pretty impressed so far with what it was doing. And the big deal here is it had some complex images, as you see here with the talking about this tree and seeds and everything. And it does have the appropriate alt text, long text with it. And what's nice about what they do here, they do talk about the figure at the top. They reference the figure, and then they have the actual figure. There's text within the figure, and that is actually also in the alt text. So those with a screen reader who can't see the actual image will be able to still hear the text and what's going on with this image. Now, what I want to show you is how you can, if you're just glancing through texts and trying to see if you want to adopt a certain textbook, how do you check if you don't have a screen reader? Then one of the ways you could do is right click and hit inspect, and then this inspection window, I'm not sure, I'm not a web designer, so I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it has this elements, and then it has right here image alt equals, and then you can see all of what is being read by the screen reader right here in this paragraph. And there's different ways to do this. I talked about that in different videos about what to do with long description, but they put it all in here in the HTML. And as I was going through this book, they did that consistently. I didn't catch any images that didn't have any kind of description at all. The other thing I wanted to mention is their lists are done as actual lists. The 1, 2, 3, 4, they're not just the numbers typed in. What I wasn't able to find, although I hadn't, I'm not going to look through the entire book, but things to look for like tables, and then these headings are read. Now, unless you know HTML, you would need a screen reader to read this. So in the book I was looking at, I did look for tables and equations, and I didn't find any. The book wasn't really one that, if it has any equations, it's very few, and I didn't find any right off the bat. But what this kind of checklist to look for, headings, formatting, the headings, how to look for that if you don't have a screen reader. Well, I'm going to link to my video talking about freeware screen readers such as NVDA, and so that will actually read heading 1 and heading 2 and such, and so you'll know whether or not it has headings. Formatting, does it have list numbering or too many blanks? Again, the NVDA free screen reader would read that. Otherwise, you're having to look at HTML code. Image descriptions, I showed how to just look at that real quick on the alt text by right-clicking and inspect element. Tables, that would also be, you use NVDA to read it, or you can check the HTML. As I find examples of that, of how to check, I'll show that. And equations, I've shown that in other videos. I'll try to link to those videos, or create a new one showing a science or math book with the equations, that how to check if they're MathML or have the MathJax plugin, things that will make it accessible. So these are kind of the first things to check for. I would say that usually if headings and formatting are not there, if they're not doing lists or any of that, the PDF, the document, well, you don't want a PDF, the web book that you are using most likely doesn't have image descriptions or proper tables or proper equations that are accessible either. So headings and formatting are kind of the first things. If that's not happening, then it's kind of no need to check all the rest of it. If it's a book you're really interested in, again, working with the publisher or working with your department to see if it's a something that you have the I think it's called the Creative Commons, the copyright, which allows you to actually modify and then use the text. So that's something you could look into as well. Okay, so that's the way to look at some of the publishers' textbooks that you might be wanting to use.